Welcome guys to the ninth tutorial of PLC automation, and this tutorial is about up and down counter. The counters are required to count the input pulses. These two are very common counters for PLC. First one is the up counter and second one is the down counter. There are 5 variables for these two counters and they are common, but the function of both timers is different. So let's first create a new project in CellPro software. Click on Edit Wizard of left bottom corner and expand the function block, and these are the blocks for up counter, down counter and up down counter. So first I will discuss the up counter. Place the NO contact, then place up counter. The in pin of the counter is for counting the pulses from a physical input. The PV is preset value same as timer, which will store the required count value. The CV is current value of the count. ENO is the enable output, which will active after the count reaches to a specific value. And the important part of the counter is its reset pin. Consider a physical input. To provide the pulses for this counter, double click on the contact and assign a physical address. I am using this DI_0. Click OK. Connect a coil to ENO pin. Double click on the coil to assign an address. Assign any of the address available in the list. Click OK. Double click on the PV. Click on add variable. The initial value for this variable will be the required count of the counter. Suppose I want to count up to 3 pulses, so type 3 and click OK. Assign a variable to CV. Double click on CV and click on add variable. Click on OK. So the variables to preset value and current value are assigned. I will not go for the reset pin of the counter right now. First go for offline simulation. Now at initial condition the output is off, the CV value is set to 0 and the input is 0. I am not using the reset pin of the counter right now. We have to provide a high to low pulse on the in pin of the counter. So high to low pulse means first double click on the contact to make it a high signal and again double click on it to make a low signal. The CV value will be incremented to 1. So let's see, double click on contact and you can see the CV value is incremented to 1 and it is not incrementing after that value. You have to release the input. Now this will be considered as a high to low pulse. Now again if you provide a high pulse, then the CV is equal to 2. Again release the input, provide the third pulse, double click on the contact. Now the CV value is equal to PV value, release the input. So we provide 3 pulses to this up counter. Due to this up counter action, the CV value is incremented after every pulse, and whenever the CV value is equal to PV value, it will activate the output. Now if you want to provide further pulses to the counter, it will not increment the CV value and it will not affect the output status of the ENO pin. So for a up counter, the initial condition is CV will be equal to 0 and ENO pin will be low. So when you are providing the pulses through the in pin of the counter, the CV value will be incremented after every pulse, and whenever the CV value is equal to PV value, it will activate the ENO pin or it will make the ENO pin high. After that the counter will not count any further pulse. To reset the counter, we have to connect one input on the R pin of the counter so that it can again start counting from 0 and go up to PV value. Connect a NO to reset pin of the counter. Give a physical address to this input. Click OK. And at the same time I will go for the down counter also. So place one NO contact, then place the down counter. Place one more NO contact to reset this down counter. Connect it to the R pin of the counter. Connect one coil to the ENO pin of the down counter. Double click on PV and add variable. Set any initial value. Click OK. Double click on CV. Click on add variable and click on OK. Now we have to define the addresses to contacts and coils. Double click on the first contact. You can select any of the input. I will go for this DI_2. Click OK. Double click on the next contact. Select any other input, click OK, and the address for this coil I will use this second output, out1, click OK. Go for offline simulation. Now if we consider the initial conditions for both the counters, the CV for up counter is set to 0, but the CV for down counter is set to the PV value. Provide a pulse to up counter, double click, again double click, count is 1. Again provide the pulses to up counter, and when the CV value is equal to PV value for up counter, the output is set and the counter will not count any other pulse. So to reset this counter, you have to press the contact connected to the reset pin, and after that you can see the CV value is reset to 0. Now this counter can again count the pulses and you will get the output from this counter according to the relation between CV and PV. Now for the down counter, the CV is already set to the PV value, which is the maximum value of the count set by the user. En of the down counter is same as the in of the up counter, which will count the pulses. You can see after providing some pulses, the CV will decrement because this is the down counter, and whenever the CV is equal to 0, the counter will set the ENO pin and the coil also, and again this counter will not count any other pulse on the input, so you have to reset the counter. So guys, do your practice and stay in contact. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe the channel.